Hello and welcome. My name is Mr. Cave. I'm one of the assistant head teachers at Hitchin Girls School, and I'm just going to talk to you briefly about our plans for Chromebooks here at Girls School. So why are we using Chromebooks? Well, we use Chrome and we use Google for Education in our learning in our classrooms all the time. We've used it for some time now. We're very familiar with it. It has an excellent set of integrated apps that we use that are all built into the Chrome operating system. We also like the fact that Chrome itself, compared with something like Windows or Mac OS, is very simple. It's essentially a browser. And because of that, it's very, very straightforward in terms of usability. Updates, reinstalling, even completely wiping the Chromebook and starting again is a very, very simple and short process. And this contrasts with the much more complex operating systems of the other two systems. So, and finally as well, they are a lot more affordable. There's a downside in that they can't do everything. You can't run some of more powerful applications on them that you might want to use in industry. But for students and a learning environment, they're really, really excellent. Student work is automatically saved into the cloud. It's accessible from all devices. It's a cross-platform system. And we are moving towards using more and more cloud-based apps across our learning, right across the school. We've been very impressed with the battery life of Chromebooks. This one that I've got here I haven't charged it for nearly a week now. It still works really well. It doesn't mean that students aren't going to need to charge it more frequently than that, but they're very good, they're very robust and reliable. Now, understandably, you may think, well, I've got a laptop, well, why can't they bring it into school? But we're really not able to support that within our school system. And this is a decision that all the 3 secondary schools in Hitchin have made. It's much simpler for both schools and students to manage. We don't have issues with viruses. We don't have issues with a lot of the complexity involved with the other computers. Of course, there's absolutely no reason why your child can't use a different system at home. They can still access Google and all their work. It's a cross-platform system. But in school, we're using Chromebooks. If you're not able to purchase a Chromebook, well, we're going to have a bank of loan machines. We sort of call them a creche of machines that will be available for loan every day. And pupil premium students as well will have facilities to provide them with one. So nobody will miss out. So what are they using them for? Well, quite frankly, it's learning. It's all about learning. They're not a gadget. It's not a fad. They will become an integral part of the learning within the school, as necessary as any other piece of school equipment. But just like anything else, like a fountain pen or a lined paper or a particular textbook, they're not necessarily going to be used for everything. And neither are we going to insist that everything will be typed. There will still be a lot of handwritten work. There'll still be a lot of traditional learning. This is another device, it's another facility, it's another aspect of our learning. We're building on our really strong reputation for first-class teaching and learning within the school. And Chromebooks are going to help us with that. You can see down in the corner there's a range of icons that represent just some of the things that are built into Chrome. So Gmail is their email, Drive is where things are kept, very simple to access. Meet is what we use for accessing each other remotely. The calendar, their lessons will be put onto Google Calendar. Docs, sheets and slides are very similar to their Microsoft alternatives. And Keep is a really good organizer and we'll be showing students how to do that, about writing notes and similar to Post-its that can remind them of things. Of course, Google Classroom is the backbone of what we do in school, and homework is shown on there, lots of work is set on it, and even at the moment, students who miss lessons, if they're not able to attend for some reason, they are able to access the work that has been put on there. And through lockdown, this has been absolutely invaluable for us. It's a well-designed system, it's quite simple, and students tell us that it's fantastic when it comes to revision. And of course, students will be able to access all this through their Chromebook. And here's some, more example pages of Google Classroom and what can be done. So what else will we use them for? Well, we've invested in a range of applications that are incredibly useful for students. We'll just run through these now. The first is our Accessit Library system. We have a fabulous library at the girls' school, but students can access this online. They can search the entire library catalogue and they can reserve books as well. It's a really superb system. Just doing a search like this, you can see the book jackets there for a range of novels that just happen to be about Second World War. That's what I tended to search for. It's a really tremendous system. And reading is so important at Hitchin Girls' School. The next thing is Britannica for schools. We may all be familiar with the Encyclopedia Britannica. And certainly when I was at school, it was an enormous set of very heavy volumes. But we have brought into an online system, which is a really excellent alternative to just the simple Google search for students when they're looking for information. The kind of information that is displayed is really aged at their age group, so aimed at their age group, so they can put that in at the beginning when they start searching about how much detail they want, whether they're in year 7 or they're in year 12. It will deliver slightly different information. Keywords or words that might be unfamiliar are hyperlinked, and it will also speak and pronounce them as well. It's a really excellent resource for learning. The next one is Clickview, and Clickview is a fantastic facility. It's an enormous bank of videos and recordings, tens of thousands that are educationally based. Now, many of them have been taken from television. In actual fact, the Clickview system records all the free-to-air programs 24/7. And allows staff to take them or take snippets from them and to use them in their lessons. But there's a whole range of additional specially made videos as well. These can be set as homeworks. They're simple to view. We even have the facility to embed questions and make them interactive, and we can even tell when students have watched them, even what time of day they've watched them as well. So a really excellent system. You can see here it's broken down into secondary libraries, but also we've got our own special Hitchin Girls Library as well. Also, Unifrog. We originally started using this with sixth form in preparation for university, but we've dialed it right back through the whole school now. It's a fantastic facility for learning about careers. Students can start at almost any age looking at what the sort of implications are required for certain careers, what would interest them. There are online quizzes that allow them to think about what they might be doing in the future. They can record events or things that they want to use that they might want to talk about perhaps in interviews when they're a bit older. It's a really, really good facility. You can see there's some pages there from the Unifrog system, and the students keep the same login all the way through the school. So they're just some examples of what we're using. We're continuing to expand that all the time as we buy in additional resources and additional applications. So we're going to be asking students to do the following. They need to bring their school Chromebook in. They need to make sure it's fully charged. They're not going to have facilities to charge in school. So make sure that it's charged, or certainly has enough charge at the beginning of the day. They need to follow the instructions for our Behavior for Learning code. That applies to the use of Chromebooks as well. And one important thing that we'll be talking to them about is also to set that it auto locks when the lid is closed or when it's opened. It requires a password to be able to get in. Obviously, respecting their own equipment, but other people's equipment as well, is going to be incredibly important. And it almost goes without saying, but under no circumstances must they share their password with anyone at all. And what are we going to be asking parents to do? Well, we ask that you support your child with all their learning and their organization. Support them, but don't do it for them. We want them to be independent. We want them to be able to learn, but really help them to make sure that they're bringing their device in, that it's got enough charge, and with their homework and other materials as well. Make sure that the things that they're in their bag are what they're going to need for that day in school. And that we also ask that you support us with our policies and the ethos that we have at Hitchin Girls School. So yes, it is a new era of learning, but as I emphasized before, this is not a gadget. This is will become a staple part of teaching and learning in the classroom. Another resource, another facility, another thing that will make learning exciting and interesting at Hitchin Girls School. Thank you for listening.